Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale in which we take no shit. That started in Australia, which is our planet's tit. Simon was a Koran mocking man, and Baza was a once fool. Both bastards that set sail each day to call out manure without the demure. The climate started getting dumb, middle fingers getting tossed. Simon Wright told the fucking PC cops that they could all get lost, that they could go get lost. The podcast sat down on the toes of whiners as they cried, shouting fuck off and get bent to suck me cock and go die. So terrorists, bleeding hearts and Islamists, all fear Simon Says podcast.
They were piss funny songs, weren't they? I'm getting a bit pissed at the moment, so we've had about 10 cans each, and I'm not feeling too good, but we're gonna try to get through this, and without fucking... I'm trying to keep it down, I don't want to fucking spew, otherwise I'm wasting me fucking drinks.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Apostasy Now. Our guest this time is Simon Wright, straight out of Australia. He's a fun podcaster. I like his stuff. I consider him a friend, so I'm going to listen to it anyway, but I enjoy it. It's not for everyone, but I encourage you to go and check it out, especially listen to what he has to say, listen to what kind of a person he is, and go and listen to his work and see if it's for you. Simon doesn't want everyone listening, but if you can connect to his work, then he wants you there. You can also find him on Facebook under Simon Says. And I hope that you enjoy. Don't forget, we've now got a way for you to donate through Patreon. And you can always contact us through email or find us on Facebook. Hope you enjoy. Hope it challenges you. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This episode of Apostasy Now.
Well, there's a fish guy in room 2. Go on, take a suck on his oil hole.
All right. And this time, maybe I'll let the fish guy return the favor.
Because I'm very much a skeptic. I'm more of a skeptic than I am an atheist. I mean, atheist is a conclusion based on my skepticism.
So you'd be better if you were straight?
Yes.
Wow.
Anybody would be.
That attitude is what is responsible for the rise of atheism.
That's not what Islam is all about. Islam is peace.
What is the penalty for leaving the Muslim faith?
With the death penalty.
Thank you.
This is Apostasy Now.
For people to get the information correct before they start yapping.
Get ready to root for the bad guys.
Resist it while you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing.
Hey, I think it's the first time we've talked, besides typing.
Bloody oath, mate.
How's your weather in Australia?
Bloody hot, cold. Yesterday we got to 20 degrees. I don't know what that's in Fahrenheit. Probably 60 or something.
Oh, that's right.
But,
in Canada, we use the rest of the world system as well. It's only the Americans that are still on the Fahrenheit.
Oh, thank fuck for that. It's just a time difference I got to worry about now.
That's right.
But I want to say one thing. Merry bloody Christmas, mate.
Yeah,
there goes half your listeners. I just offended them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people are just very easy to offend, as we've seen.
Oh, talk about snowflake generation.
Yeah. Hey, actually, someone just posted it again. Have you ever seen a show called Kids in the Hall from back in the 90s? It was a comedy show.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay, well, Kids in the Hall was a Canadian comedy troupe out of Toronto, and they were very middle class in their humor.
Yeah.
One of the skits they did, apparently it was in 1993, was they basically predicted with their comedy what students would be like in our current era. They're all upset about every little thing, and they're all very racially sensitive, and they're all very upset about anything to do with gender, and they walk out of the class and insist everyone has to come with them.
Speaking of gender, we've got a thing going on here in Australia called Gender December.
Gender December?
Yep. And what they're saying is for parents to buy their boys a Barbie doll for Christmas to stop stereotyping.
What kind of people? Who's pushing this?
Some group, left-wing group, some feminists. Because I think to myself, he's a bloody idiot. Because boys have already got their dolls.
Yeah,
they're called action figures and G.I. Joe.
That's right.
So I'm thinking that they're bloody idiots. And I guarantee if you bought a boy a Barbie doll for Christmas, he's going to look at you and think you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, well, a jerk. Also, you're a jerk.
Well, back when I was a kid, I wasn't interested in Barbies, and that wasn't pushed on me because I was a boy. I was into trains, planes, and all that kind of shit. I wasn't interested in bloody doll shit.
Well, I remember when I was young, I don't remember the details, but I remember sometimes when I was left with no choices, in that case, I would play with dolls, but it was almost always, it turned into a car chase or... they'd be kicking each other and stuff. It's just what boys do.
Exactly. So this bloody gender they're trying to push, this equality, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I don't understand why people have to get so bent out of shape about it. It's almost like this generation of people in your country, my country, a number of quote, I guess, Western countries. It's just funny for Australia. You guys are normally situated in the East, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like things have gotten too good for too long in many ways, and now people are just desperately looking for a purpose in life. Some kind of something to struggle against.
It's like we want something to fight against.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there isn't always something that important to fight against. I mean, there is, but you have to go outside of your convenience to find it. You have to educate yourself a bit about other countries and other trends, and you might have to hurt some people's feelings, for instance, taking a stand about Islam and how it treats women as opposed to bitching at your local college.
Like where are the feminists about Islam? Those women get treated appallingly. But you don't hear any feminists standing up against Islam about that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's been the question for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got an ad here in Australia that's running, and it's about abuse, domestic violence against women. And they're now targeting the young boys because what they show is, a little girl coming for the door and the boy slams it. Well, it looks like he slams it, and she falls over, and the mother goes, "Oh, don't worry, he just likes you." And as the time gets along, you see the boy get older into a man, and he's abusing his wife. And I thought to myself, we're really starting to attack the boys now for domestic violence. But domestic violence, if the women want equality, then they should accept what men cop. Because if more men are getting now domestic violence against their wives, but they're too ashamed to stand up because that's shameful for a bloke for their wife to be bashing the shit out of them.
Yeah, I've heard some people speak about it from like the scientific perspective of the species. So here's the catch-22 for men. In natural terms, being a tough, strong, self-sufficient, and providing male is what makes you attractive to mates, right?
Yeah.
So if you need help, you can't ask for it because you would be an inferior male. You'd be worthless, essentially on just a natural level, like an instinct level. But so you can't ask. But if you do ask, then you are also worthless. Like you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Exactly, mate. And there's some men have reported domestic violence against their wives at the cop shop, and all they cop is toughen up, just cop it.
Well, this is one advantage of having from my own personal experience. There was the night that the police came to my apartment when I called, because I know men never call for help, right? But I did, because I don't give a shit about this like stereotyping stuff. So I needed them there. I called and they came, and I won't go into the details, but it was 2 women cops. So my first thought in my head when I saw them at the door was, well, I'm going to jail tonight.
Yeah. Where's the quality in that? Where's me male officer?
But they were actually giving me good advice, and they were very aware of what was happening. And I, unfortunately, at that time, I didn't take their advice. I ignored it, and it was to my daughter's detriment, in my opinion. But just an example, a lot of times we hear about the need for bringing more women into certain jobs. Well, in this case, I think there was an advantage. I think they came in there, whereas guys probably believe the crap training that they get. These women came in, saw what was going on, and assessed it from a more realistic point of view.
Yeah.
And also I had two female judges who were both awesome, because you always get different judges here every time you go to court for the whole long, for me, almost 4-year process.
Jeez, that's a long time, mate.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they were destroying me financially. It was unbelievable the entire time. But anyways, two good judges, and they were both women. One of them was like, she was like a superhero in a robe. Like, she was so awesome.
Yeah.
Every time my ex-wife...
Maybe they're starting to wake up to what's going on.
Yeah, I think women are waking up to it. Actually, there are certain women who are waking up to it actually faster than guys, because guys still have this macho thing left in us, right? Yeah. So I've been stunned just at the backwardsness of a lot of these attitudes. Like, just because men aren't coming in and saying, "Oh, these bad things happen to me," it's okay for feminists to conclude, well, then no bad things are happening to them.
Exactly, and that's why they take their statistics.
Yeah, but they don't do that for women. With women, they go, well, let's estimate plus 50% or 80% or whatever, because not all women will report. But what about the men?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
exactly.
They didn't report it, so it didn't happen to them. Well, I don't see how this seems a little imbalanced, this approach.
Yeah, I do believe in, like, men do have to start to stand up and, take accountability for what's going on.
Yeah. We
do have to let go of this macho shit. I'm not saying that we have to get rid of it, because we can't, because otherwise, we don't fit into society.
Right.
But I do believe we actually have to start standing up, take on our responsibilities, and start voicing our ways, just like the feminists have done. We just haven't caught up to them yet.
I think my perspective is that it's a reframing issue. You're keeping what's masculine in place, but you're just, the way that you function in society has to be reframed. So the way I would point this out is, if you saw, let's say back in time, you saw this guy, he seemed like a great warrior, right? And he saw an army coming and he's like, you all stay here, I'm going to go fight them by myself, and ran off. What would the other soldiers say?
What's wrong with us?
No, well, they'd say he's a lunatic, right?
Yeah.
Like, no matter how good he is, he can't fight a whole army on his own. But this is kind of the mentality we have now when it comes to social issues with men. Because you're not just having a problem between you and your girlfriend or ex-wife. It's you and an army, like an army of society's officials that are posed against you. And you can't do that alone. You need to start, men need to start opening up into the system and using it for what it's there for.
Yeah. See, this is why I love listening to you, mate, because you make a lot of bloody sense, eh?
Oh, well, now you're flattering me. I think most of my listeners know that I'm quite often a lunatic.
my most favourite episode was, it's about August sometime when I was getting my operation done, and you were talking to I think it was an African American.
Oh, from the States, yeah. He goes by Devil's Advocate now. He had a different name at the time.
That's it, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that was a brilliant episode, hey? I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, well, he's awesome. You should, right now, as we're recording this, like, it'll take me a while to edit this, but as we're recording this today, he's going on a streak on Facebook making jokes about the Russians are behind everything.
Oh, no.
Faking the moon landing or the aliens, the Illuminati and ghosts. Russians invented ghosts.
Mate, I love it. He was great to listen to, and he made a lot of sense. And you know what? The best thing I loved about him is he didn't take on all the stereotype, and he never played the victim card, because what I've seen it with him is he was just being himself.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And and I love that in a person. I hate this bloody beating around the bush, cutting corners and trying not to offend people, and just say it the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, there are times people are more sensitive, but generally speaking, we've started tippy-toeing around each other. It's
like choose your moments, not just don't go out blurting shit. You got to, as you said, you got to pick your moments.
Well, it's I remember one of the examples I always use with other atheists is, if you want to talk about whether you agree or disagree if there's a God, there are times, like at a funeral, for instance, that you probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just lean over to the person crying next to you and be like, well, I understand why you're crying, since they cease to exist and they'll never exist again. There's only oblivion. Hey, is there a dip around here somewhere?
Like, I work in aged care and I see a lot of death, and I've gone to a few funerals, and because I don't believe in God anymore, but I don't go there because they're going to heaven. I go there because I want to say my last goodbye to them.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all it is. It has nothing to do with religion, because I work with these people for 5 to 10 years, if they're in that long. and you form a relationship with them. Because, you know, they become part of your family because you're looking after them every day. So they become part of your family. So when the ones I do go to, because we become really high care now, they don't last long. So they're in there for about a year or so and then they pass away because we become special aged care. So the ones that have been there for like 10 years, you know, you do go to their funerals to say your last goodbyes and you move on then.
So what's it like working in your field?
I enjoy it. Like I love the job. It can be pretty stressful because you're actually dealing with a lot of dementia, which to me I find that if people are listen to my show or you know our little community know that I don't believe in the word dementia because to me that's just a made up word to diagnose somebody to put them on medication and to make them relax. Because what I've noticed is when old people come into nursing homes, they always remember the past. And when they move into a new surroundings, to them, that's not home. And all they want to do is go home.
Right.
And people with so-called dementia, to me, it's just the brain slowly dying.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because the brain is just a piece of meat. So, and, you know, muscles die away and deteriorate, so that's what our brain does, and you know we tend to forget shit, and because we remember our long-term memory, when they come into a nursing home, they're trying to escape because to them that's not home.
Yeah,
and it does take them a couple of months to adjust. So we do counter that, but you know the ones that are really hell-bent on getting out, they're the ones that have to go on medication or, you know, have special care to keep them under control.
Yeah, that's
otherwise.
So I guess this is it's kind of an unexpected side effect of people learning to live longer and longer in societies.
Yeah, because you've got to remember, 100 years ago, average age was 70.
Yeah,
so that was
creeping up.
And you know, we still have our faculties at 70.
Yeah, most of us.
So,
some of us never have our faculties.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's the way I see in nursing homes is that it's not that they've got dementia, it's just the meat slowly deteriorating. That's all it is. Yeah. It's getting old. It's had enough.
Now, do you see a lot of medicating of the elderly in the places where you work?
I've got to say, we keep them alive to bleed them dry. So we keep them alive to take all their money, and when all their money's gone, we just let them die then.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds like a Hallmark card there, a greeting card there.
Yeah, for the elderly. But don't get me wrong, I love working in there. It is challenging. So there's some days where I think to myself, I just need to go back to baking.
That's what you were doing before. You were baking, and now you're...
Yeah, I was a baker for 20 years.
Oh, that's right. I think you mentioned it on your show, baking.
Yeah, so... No, I enjoy baking. That was my first job. So because if I'm employed, I become a loyal employee. I stick to a job and I stay with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a person that really likes change. I don't cope that well.
I used to thrive on change. Now, as I get older, I find that I just want them to leave me alone, let me do what I know is going to be done. Right?
Exactly. I know where you're coming with there because we've got a system at work. We've got to answer the buzzers within 5 minutes of them ringing.
Yeah.
And we've got 90 people in our facility, so there's a fair few old ones running around everywhere. And in the afternoon, like they got 4 nurses in each. We've got 3 sections called A, B, and C, and 4 nurses work in each section. But in the afternoon, that halves. So you got 2 nurses looking after 3 sections. So the workload doubles a bit.
Yeah.
So there are times where buzzers going off, but we can't get to it because we're in the middle of wiping somebody's butt. So
I can see how that would slow you down a bit.
So we've got the RNs on our butts going, why haven't you answered the buzzer within 5 minutes? And I'm thinking, why just can't people use their common sense and see that we just can't do it because our workload is double, but we're looking after 30 people for 2 nurses. So it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
And, when you're going to turn off another buzzer, another one's going. So it's just constantly buzz, 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 buzz.
That's something that management should be able to understand pretty easily. So maybe they don't want to see it.
No. They're all about bloody money and, their bonuses and shit like that. While us little bees are running around everywhere.
Well, in Australia now, you guys have
Place.
you guys have a type of healthcare system there too, right? Universal healthcare of some kind.
We've got a Medicare, which is a government funded, which we pay a Medicare levy, which goes into Medicare to pay for, like people that are out of work and stuff like that, medical bills.
Okay. But is there a type of private medical thing that goes on as well, or is it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of private companies, like private health funds and that, but they cost an arm and a leg to be in.
Yeah.
So most people that are, let's say middle class, can't really afford to pay a private insurer.
Well, I spend a lot of time in the States. That's why I'm asking that there's criticism about the American system and the Canadian system. So there's valid criticisms of any system. But one of the things I've told Americans when I'm over there is because they seem to think that anything that's socialist leads to communism. And I tend to be, these days, on alert a lot about people who are very pro-socialist stuff, just because of the climate we're currently in. But I have to say, like I tell them, when I'm gone, at the time when I was telling them this, I was married, obviously. When I said, when I'm gone, I can tell you for a fact, no matter what happens, my family, my wife, my child will have, even my parents, all my family, I know they'll all have access to the medical care that they need, at least to the extent that we have it, right? I don't have to worry about whether they're going to have trouble getting into a hospital because there's a technicality, because my insurance company has played a trick or doesn't want to, pay for the bills after. We're going to lose all our money.
Like in my case, I've recently had an operation. And I had cancer.
G'day all you motherfuckers, how yous going out there? Just to let you know, I'm heading off to my operation now. I'm at Tuggerah Station, and bit of miserable weather out here at the moment, as you can see. But anyway, I'll keep you informed with what's going on. I'll send you another message when I get to the hospital, and wish me luck.
Now, this operation was supposed to be done 10 years ago because I was out of work, and out of my 25 years of working, I've only been out of work for like a year and a half out of that time. So I haven't really been a burden on the system. So I was out of work, and the cancer flared up, and I wasn't getting employment. So Centrelink, which is our, what would you call it, where you get off the government. So they organised to get the surgery done, but for some reason I managed to get a job where I work now and got employment because I was trying to get into aged care because I'd done my certificate a year ago and I still wasn't getting employment, and they were telling me, oh, we need more male nurses, and I thought, great, that's good. And a year later, after finishing the course, I was still unemployed, and it was my supervisor could see what was going on, so she knew a Don, which is called, she's the manager of the joint, and managed to get an interview with me, and I got the job. And then 2 weeks later, Centrelink rings up and says, we've cancelled the operation because you now have employment. You can pay for it. And I thought, okay. So, being on a nurse's wage is not all that good. You just get enough to scrape by. So time has passed, and it got to the point where I needed it done. There was no question. So I was taken to Gosford Hospital up at the Central Coast, and they got the ball rolling. And because it had become an emergency, it had they put me on the public system.
G'day guys, the doctor's just come to see me. I kept most of my nose, which is good, so I won't be noseless. I'll be in hospital until about Thursday. Then they're going to reconstruct where the cancer was, and that's bloody great news, and I'm thrilled about that. Anyway guys, I'm not feeling the best at the moment, so I'll speak to you all soon when I'm feeling a bit better.
Wow. So this was this all led to a 10-year delay?
Yes.
Wow, that is a huge delay.
Because I had employment and I wasn't covered.
Right. Shame on you for getting employed. I got punished for getting employed. Right. This is what I don't
look at the outcome.
I've seen this. Okay, when we talk, even over here, like conversations I've had with people about welfare, I don't advocate abolishing welfare. I don't. However,
you'd be asking for trouble if you'd done that.
Right. I consider that one form of extreme, like the one side, right? But on the other hand, why is it we have set up everything to basically, once you get into that sand pit, everything keeps pulling you back down into it. So if you want to get off of welfare, there are certain benefits you're getting at that time. Why do you have to lose them all right away?
Exactly.
And then you have to basically crawl on hands and knees to get back on them again. So people are afraid to move forward with their lives because they're worried that things will get worse rather than better.
Yeah. They've made a system where it's more dependent on being welfare than actual employment, because you lose a lot of government support once you get employment.
Oh, once you're working, you're on your own, man.
Yeah. And especially being a middle-aged white man.
Oh, see, that's the greatest crime of all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's great being a man in your middle age, being in your 40s.
Oh yeah. Well, I just turned 40 a few days ago. Yay!
Oh shit, I'm 43, so you know.
I don't mind turning 40. It's I think that it was tough for me to reflect on all this family court stuff, and still kind of the fact that I feel like they've stripped me of basically my choices and dignity to a large extent in life, and it'll pass. It's already getting easier as the couple days have gone by. But on my birthday, actually, it was really getting to me sitting in my truck all day.
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
With your daughter, like I've seen you post your time with your daughter, and it looks like she has a great time every time I see those photos.
Oh yeah.
Now I was taken off my mother when I was 7 years old, and I went into a Great Depression because I wasn't your average normal person. You know, I had learning disabilities when I was a kid and stuff like that. So I was more open and aware of what was happening to me, because me personally, I ditched what I learned from my mum. It was like getting a reset button pressed. And I was more about watching people, because I lost a lot of trust when I was taken off my mum, and, you know, the stuff I had to go through with my auntie was hell. So I'd like to know, what does your daughter think of what's going on at the moment with custody and stuff like that? How does she cope?
Well, let me make clear, first of all, I don't get into it with her a lot. If she brings things up, I try to deal with it as best I can on her level based on what she's talking to me about. So in other words, I try not to avoid things that she's specifically asking or talking to me about. But I don't push it. Like I specifically try not to bad talk her mother, or whatever.
No, I don't. Like, listening to you, you know, I know you're not that kind of person. You know, you wouldn't do that to your daughter, because, you know, that just, then the daughter sees what's going on, because, you know, guaranteed that, you know, your ex-wife is, you know, going through her own problems and stuff like that, and her uncertainty.
I assume.
Yeah. So I just like to think that, you know, your daughter's coping pretty well, and
she's having adjustment issues. What I'll say is that our situation is, and I can only tell you my opinion. I specifically have been ordered by the judge not to bad talk my ex-wife on social media, so this might count as social media.
Don't do it if it's going to get you in trouble. And plus, I know you wouldn't badmouth your wife anyway.
Well, there were times I did, but I have learned to curtail it. I assume that people know when I talk about things. This is my assumption. Apparently, the judge couldn't figure this out. If I talk about things, it's my experience. It's not meant to be. Other people shouldn't be listening to that and concentrating on people they don't know, like my ex-wife. They should be listening to me about what I'm trying to tell them about the court system or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, so without talking badly about her, I'll just say that for my child, it's different than for many kids because of the state of mind of her mother at home. So when she talks to me, now this is just what she says to me, but I've known this situation in my daughter since my daughter was born. I believe her when she says this, that she would much rather live here with me.
Yeah.
And that's not because she doesn't love her mother. It's not that at all.
Maybe because it seems more like a calmer home.
Yeah, and things like she's connected to extended family here, which she's not at all allowed to do when she's at home.
And we've got to understand, kids aren't stupid.
No, they're not. I mean, they can be stupid, but so can adults.
when it comes to the crunch, they're not silly.
Right. They can focus. They understand the important things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if the situation ever became, you're not gonna be able to see your mother, she would be very upset by that. Obviously, she wouldn't want to live her life without her mother in it. It's just, yeah. So her adjustment has been difficult for her in a number of ways, but mostly it's been the adults around her not being willing to step up to the plate to really help her because they're all afraid to ask questions and to say things that might get them in trouble. The current climate.
Yeah, definitely a snowflake generation, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the teachers that she has right now, I've talked to them quite a bit, and they're really great. So that's great, But when this whole thing started, it was a different group of teachers and a different principal and stuff. And I got to tell you, man, they were ice cold to me. Mm-hmm. Almost like they just assumed that I was the problem for everything just because I was the guy.
And that's the way society has trained people to think, though.
But I got to tell you, after a couple of years of dealing with my ex-wife and having almost nothing to do with me, they were real happy to see me back in the picture talking to them again.
Yeah. They seen what happens behind closed doors, didn't they?
No, they got what they asked for on their end anyway.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah. So, anyways, and I'm sorry to hear that that was rough. Sounds like it was rough on you when you were a kid.
The way I look at it now, I've let it all go. I've moved on.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because one day I just woke up and we're weird creatures, aren't we? I woke up one day thinking, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of me blaming my auntie for what happened in my life. It's taught me who I am today, so I'm just better off letting it go. And once I let it go, my life has moved on. So, just don't hold on to shit because it will bring you down.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you've got a resilience to you that I think really comes through on what you share on your show and on social media. I was really touched by the fact that you shared kind of parts of your walk through this entire experience with your operation. At first, I didn't know what was going on. I'd see video of you like waiting for a train, I think at one point, and stuff like that. And then I started catching on over time. Oh, holy shit, he's having an operation.
Well, I actually planned on doing that because I like to share shit. I don't, and you know me, I don't censor myself and stuff like that. But I thought to myself, if this is going to help somebody, then that's good.
Yeah.
And before the actual operation, I got this message of this lady that I never knew. And she said, thank you for sharing these videos because it has got my butt moving. And she said she had a lump under her eyelid that was getting bigger and not going away, and it looked similar to mine. So she went and seen the doctor, and it was the same thing I had. But because she was an elderly, she got it on the public system, and they were able to get rid of it. So that's the reason why I started putting it up. And, I wanted people to see what it was like, what I was going to go through with the operation and the cancer. Just, there were a few people that said to me, they had a box of tissues watching it. No, I didn't mean it to go that far. But yeah, but it was just to let people be aware of what this bloody cancer shit can do to you.
Yeah. I know for myself, I should take better care of myself medically, keep up on stuff. But ever since I've been a truck driver and all this overwhelming stuff, I'm way behind on all of this stuff. Currently, I'm out a doctor too. I don't even have a doctor right now.
No, I don't even. I haven't had a doctor for over 22 years.
Wow.
Because I've never been, sick enough to have one. But I tell you what, mate, I can't praise these surgeons enough with what they've done for me. Hey, they are just miracle workers. Able to get the cancer out and reconstruct my eye, like my face and that. But I reckon I look cooler now than I did with that ugly thing on my face.
You're up there with the what's that? Who's the character that Samuel L. Jackson plays on all his movies now? Nick Fury.
Oh yeah, with that.
That's right.
But yeah, I get a lot of looks now. I get more looks now than I did, having that ugly thing on my face. But the day I was going home, I'm thinking, because I didn't have a patch or anything, it was still swollen as all shit. And catching the train back to the Central Coast, I'm thinking, this is going to be a horrible ride home. Everybody will be staring at me. You know what? I did not have a problem because you know why? Everybody's looking down on their mobile phones.
That's true.
So I didn't have a bloody problem at all.
That is what everyone does now.
Yeah, I come past the train station, all you see is heads down. It's amazing.
That's why they don't catch any bank robbers anymore, probably.
Yeah, exactly, because they're too busy looking at it on Facebook because somebody's recorded it. But yeah, like they've done a magnificent job. I gotta admit, this has been my happier year.
It's been a happier year for you?
Yeah, like people will think, you've just gone through an operation. But no, this has been my happiest year in a long, long time.
Well, that's good to hear. A lot of people have been acting like this is the worst year, especially naming every celebrity that dies, they add it to a list.
Yeah, exactly. No, to me, this is my happy year. But I've got to go for another 6 months checkup. I've got to go back in April to go for another MRI to make sure they got rid of all. I had a bad dream last night too.
Oh no!
I had a dream the cancer came back.
Oh, shitty.
Yeah. So it started playing on me, and I've woken up and I'm like, oh fuck. Oh no, it was just a dream. Thank fuck for that.
Stress dreams. That's what I call those ones. More than a nightmare. They seem designed to make us stressed out all night.
Yep, keep us alert.
I often get them about.
Hey,
what's that?
Yeah, it's just reminding me of could happen again. Nah, not again. But yeah, I've got to go for another 6 months one because this is a 5-year plan that they've organised. Because anything to do with cancer, you have a 5-year program.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I'm glad they're giving you checkups to make sure everything's cool.
Well, the doc actually said to me, "You keep these You have to keep these appointments." I went, "I haven't waited this long just to fuck up now."
Yeah,
I'm going to keep doing it, mate. Like the ball's rolled. I can't let it go. So they said might be a couple of more operations. What they want to do is because of where they've had to move my cheek over and use part of my skull to rebuild where the cheek was.
Oh,
so they cut the eye out and then just covered up the hole with my skull.
Wow, man, that's a lot. It's amazing what they've been able to learn how to do.
Like when they first told me about the operation and what was going to happen, like they said, you're going to have a hole in your head. I went, oh, and that's when it really sunk in. Oh shit, this is bad.
Yeah.
And but they said we'll try to save your eye. I went, oh, fair enough. So
fair enough. That's so Australian of you. Fair enough.
Yeah, it should be right, mate. As long as I got my sight, I don't mind a hole in the head. So I've gone for another MRI. They've done the operation, and they've cut the cancer out. They got rid of the tear duct and where the cancer was grown on the eye socket, and went for another MRI. And they said to me the day that they were going to do the reconstruction he walked up to me and said, "Mate, you are going to lose your eye. We found more cancer, and you're going to lose it." I'm like, no. And when he told me that, I thought, I had that feeling that I was going to lose it.
Yeah.
So they put me under. I was under for 14 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a long operation, and I tell you what, mate, coming out of that anesthetic, it's a killer.
Like a lot of pain in your head, or?
Well, they had me on this drip, and every time I was in pain, I had to press a button. But I thought you only had to press it once, and it gave you the right amount of dose. No, you could have pressed it as many times as you want until the pain went away. Well, I didn't know that. I just pressed it once and just laid there. But no, I wasn't in severe pain because when they cut through the nerve, I lost all feeling on the right side of my face. So I wasn't experiencing any pain. But when the doctor came to check the hole in my face, they pulled the gauze out and, checked all in there and make sure it was all right. Oh, when they were putting the gauze back in, I definitely felt it then. I was on that button pressing.
Yeah, face pain. I can only imagine from the point of view of, for me, my least favorite I don't like any pain, obviously, but my least favorite has always been dental work.
Yeah, yeah.
It just seems like the pain is closer to my brain, right? And so I guess it's a more personal pain.
Yeah, because it does travel up into the brain.
Yes.
You get you get a toothache in the back. Your whole top row is aching because they all get affected, and then it travels up your face into your bloody brain.
I had to because I was, let's just say, I was not in control of the money for the last few years that I was married, and no money was given to me for dental stuff. So after the separation, I was forced to go to the university here that has a dental school.
Yeah.
And catch up on a few years worth of dental stuff in a dental school.
As I say, mate, beggars can't be choosers.
Now, I mean,
so you're willing to take anything.
The lady, the student that was working on my teeth over a year and a half, she was really great, but it's the one thing is it's slower. Everything is slower because they have to get things checked. They're less certain of themselves, and you always risk getting a lower quality treatment because they're brand new at this stuff.
Yeah,
but
you got to start at the bottom.
Yeah, that's right.
They got to get their bloody practice somehow.
That's right. That's right. I'm a hero. I helped.
Yeah. Well, that's like when I was in hospital. Most RNs that were checking me out, checking my vitals were, doing their exams, and getting assessed and stuff like that. So. Yeah, it's cool.
I never asked, but I presume if I die under their care, the student fails the course. I presume.
So wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd think so.
But
she has to repeat you.
I wasn't sure whether to feel good or bad when one of the professors came around. This is after I'd been there for quite a while. And they had to do a root canal on me because when I was a truck driver and all this stuff's going on. Anyways, this was actually kind of a low point for me that I had to get a root canal. But I'm sitting in there and they're doing their work, and this professor comes around and starts asking them, blah blah blah, and then they go, "Oh, this is the patient who doesn't complain about pain," and she's like, "Yes," and then they talk about something, and as they're talking, I'm sitting there going, "Is that a compliment or am I a fool?" For being the guy who basically just doesn't complain when it hurts.
Yeah, they're probably talking to you. He doesn't feel pain. Guess what he's going to feel now?
They're like, score as a student. This is the perfect patient because he just sits through it and doesn't bug me.
And how did you go through it?
There was a couple of times when I told him, hey, with the root canal, I'm just like, oh, I'm feeling this.
Yes. And all the beads of sweat start forming on the forehead.
Yeah. But it's kind of sad because, like I say, when you go to an experienced dentist, they can get more things done at once. So when I'd have to keep going back in, when I could get it done in 1 or 2 takes, I had to go in like 6 times over a period of months. So I actually got used to them stabbing me with a needle in my mouth to numb it.
That's one thing I got used to because I hate needles. But after going through all those operations and that, I'm used to them now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. Like after a while, I remember I was sitting there and they're like, "Okay, are you ready? I'm going to give you a needle." I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm ready." It was the same lady. Like she knew me, right? I'm just like, "How many of these do I have to get before I'm ready?" Right? Yeah. This is old hat now.
Yeah, we don't deal with pain all that well, eh?
For the first time, I was able to finally, this is a few months ago, I was able to go see my regular dentist from years ago. He's still in practice. So I was able to get all my care done quicker and stuff like that. Yeah, and I remember it had been a while since I saw the other lady, and he went to go. He's like, "Are you ready?" "Yeah, I'm going to put this needle in or whatever." And I was just like, "Do your worst."
I've had worse. So what got you into podcasting? I'm intrigued.
What got me into it? It essentially I had been listening on the road for years. One of the most helpful things that happened, because I only had radio, was when I was able to get a device from my boss, a BlackBerry, because I had not been permitted. I can't say anything bad about this person, but someone did not permit me to get a portable device of like a cell phone or anything because they were afraid the CIA would be listening in on it. So when I got a smartphone from work, I was finally able to stop in at certain truck stops and download podcasts.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, hearing people like Reed Payton, and Dumb Down Atheists. There's a number of them that were just like a godsend because this wasn't, AM, FM.
Dumb Down Atheist, I was his first listener.
You were his first listener?
Yep.
Oh. Now, so when he's rich and famous, he's got to get you a plaque.
Yeah, exactly. He calls me my what was it? 5-star review.
5-star review.
Because I caught him on the second episode because he put 2 up, and as soon as I heard that Aussie Ocker fair dinky die. I thought this is going to be a brilliant one. And I've stuck with him ever since. He hasn't done one for a while, Robert Darby. So
no, he's been talking to people a little bit more on Facebook and stuff. So usually that precedes his return. I think with him, it's a bit seasonal. I haven't asked him, but I'm guessing because your kind of winter seasons come to a close. Ours is just kicking into full gear over here. And it's the same thing with me. Like I took 4 weeks to put together to get this last episode put together that I talked to Anton Hill. And
you can tell you do take a lot of pride in what you do because it really comes through when we listen to it. Thanks,
man. My buddy Smashlock here, I told him from the beginning I was going to do all the technical work. He could do something if he wanted, but I didn't. That was the expectation. I said, I just want someone to come in and talk with me and kind of throw ideas back and forth. I just don't want to do it alone all the time.
Yeah.
And, but the other day I was telling him, like, dude, I'm just kind of slowing down right now. It's taking me a long time to get anything together. And he's like, well, maybe, he goes, I know you really like doing all the audio work that you do, but maybe just, throw the audio work quickly together and like clean it up a little bit and throw it up onto the next episode. I was like, dude, but that goes against everything. I want this signature of, I want the signature of this show to be, this is really clean audio on almost every episode. And he throws in these interesting little audio bits at the beginning and parts for the guests and stuff.
G'day, I'm Simon Wright, and welcome to another episode of I Rest My Case, where I pick at anything like you pick your nose. Come on everyone, let's sit around the campfire. I've got a story to tell. Where's God? Is he here? Muhammad, are you here? Yep, there he is. Buddha, get your fat ass over here, mate. Come on, you really need to lose some weight. Does anyone know if Jehovah's coming? Wait a minute, he doesn't believe in stories, does he? What about Satan? Are you here? Yep, there you are. Come on Satan, get out of the fire, will you? Otherwise you're going to get burnt. Ra, are you here? Yep, there he is. Thor's here, Neptune's here. And where's Allah? I hope he's not causing any destruction. There he is. Thanks for taking the time out, Allah, and for not blowing things up and listening to my story. Well, let's get started.
What I was kind of surprised by was how many podcasters complimented me on my podcast. I'm not as popular as some podcasters out there, but
I prefer to have a small group though.
Yeah, because you kind of know
you really know who you're catering to.
Yeah. Well, what I found is that also they're less flippant about just leaving the listenership. I've grown this listenership slower, but they accept the fact that some of the guests and conversations we have they're not going to like, and they just either listen to it and don't like it, or they skip it and move on to the next one.
Yeah, we'll probably like this episode.
Well, I think they're going to like this episode. It's good for them.
I got into podcasting because I like to shock people.
Yeah, that was your motive.
Yeah, I like to because when I was a kid I grew up on comedians like Rodney Roode, Cole Elliott, and all and to me they were dirty bastards. Hey, their jokes were absolutely filthy, but I loved them. They made me laugh. So I grew up on that kind of era back in the 80s. And so I thought, because with me, things run through my head constantly. Like, my brain just does not stop. And I'll be sitting there, like, I came up with a theory, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Do you know which one came first?
I usually use this one as an example of, what's the comparison I use that question to? I think it's something to do with religion, right? I say it's basically an evolution versus creationist dilemma. With creationism, it's the chicken came first, and with evolution, it's more likely the egg.
Well, this old bloke I was looking after one day walked up to me and he goes, which fits in with the story. He goes, "You seem like a smart man." I went, "Yeah, okay." And he goes, "I've had this question and I want it answered." And he goes, "Which came first, the chicken or the egg?" And it was only a couple of days that I come up with the theory. And I gave him a laugh and I went, "I only come up with the answer the other day." And he goes, "Well, what is it?" I said, "Well, the egg or the chicken never came first. They didn't come first because only the cock can come." And he's just looked at me and he goes, you know what? I can die now. I've got my answer.
Yes, that's true.
You know what? 2 weeks later, he passed away.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, he passed away. So he got his answer. That's all he was waiting around for was the answer to the chicken or the egg.
That was his destiny, was it?
Yeah. So I gave him his answer and he was happy. Yeah, because only the cock can come, which is a rooster.
Oh man,
I like to use that kind of humour, and like I'm not sure what parts of my show you listen to, but I know you listen to it.
Yeah.
Because because I just like to press record, and whatever comes out comes out. Because I don't write anything down.
Well, maybe we should just like quickly go through like the few stages that because your show continues to evolve all the time.
Yeah.
But when you first started, was it the reading of the Quran?
No, it was I Rest My Case.
I Rest My Case. Okay.
Then that was just based on me, learning how things worked, and it was my stepping stone into learning the Quran. And even though I still use that I Rest My Case, and the next part I use now, welcome back to another lesson of learning the Quran. That was a separate one within itself, but I was still using the main podcast name.
So I remember being quite entertained by listening to you get increasingly aggravated with what you were reading.
Actually, I've listened back to it a few times now, and I laugh now.
Yeah.
Because you forget what you say.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, "You're a fucking idiot, Simon. Jesus Christ." So that led into learning the Quran, and that led me into doing a few skits. My very first skit I ever done, or sketch, or whatever you want to call it, is Mr. Bean in the Suicide Vest.
Yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember that one. You do a mean Mr. Bean. You do a mean Mr. Bean.
Yeah, everybody says that. They go, "Oh, really? Let's go to Heathrow Airport now, Teddy." So, because I wanted Mr. Bean to still have that innocence.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
But him getting into a situation that he has no control of and he has no understanding of.
Yes.
So what happened is I'd done a reading of the Quran. I think it was chapter 4 or whatever, verse 4, and I did Mr. Bean intro. So he's introing the next chapter, and then it leads into Mr. Bean watching Islamic, those shopping networks on TV where they advertise stuff and late night programming.
Great, yep. Infomercials.
That's it. So he was watching that, and they were selling suicide vests because it was the Islamic version.
Yeah.
And he says, "Teddy, that looks awesome. We'll have to get one." So he orders one, and it comes in the mail, and he gets some instructions on what to do and where to go and stuff like. I won't give too much away because I should repost it, and your listeners can jump on my page and listen to it. And I still wanted him to keep his innocence, but then have him in a terrorist network and everybody going, "I can't believe he's there." So yeah, that was my first skit, and then led into more reading the Quran, and then it just got to the point the Quran was just pissing me off. Like, I can't write. I'm not a good writer, but I tell you what, I can write better than the Quran. And so I started getting sick of that, and I thought, what am I going to do now? And one day, riding home, and I thought to myself, I'm going to use a character, but he's not going to be a made-up character. He's going to be me, the true me, because, we all have to be politically correct. We all have to, speak in a certain way, and, you got to censor yourself, everyone, and so...
You got to make sure everyone's feelings are not hurt.
So I'm the false Simon. I'm the society Simon. Everybody who wants me to be Simon. And I thought, you know what? I really need to get a lot of, because I don't, because people that know me as a good bloke. I'm considerate, I'm kind, but they don't know the true me. And that's when Baza was born, because Baza is the real me. If Baza was able to get away with a lot of shit, it'd be me. So he was born, and he doesn't like to censor himself.
Yep.
He just says it is, and that's it. If you don't like it, fuck off. no skin off his nose. And then another character came, was I was doing some sound effects, and I was farting into my speaker, and this dirty one, it was nearly a follow through. So yeah, I did the fart, and then the next thing, next push was shit coming out. I had to stop it. And the way it came out on the mic, it sounded bloody awesome, eh? And I thought, there's a new character born. And that's how Spasto George was born. Because I don't like to be politically correct. Yeah. I like to be politically correct. Say it how it is, and that's it. And Spasto George is based on me when I was a kid. Okay. Because I was a slow learner, you know, everybody thought there was something wrong with me. So that's who Spasto was based on. And yeah, he's got a lot of problems. He's got cerebral palsy, one club foot. He wears a colostomy bag. He's got a catheter in, and he's turned to shit. So and he thinks everybody.
You don't think that this is going to be politically correct? This character?
Hey, he's my character.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't care what people think. He's based on me. But a few more problems. I just exaggerated a bit more. So, yeah, and like, there's a lady at work that I work with, and she absolutely loves that character. And I said to I said to her, why do you love Spasto so much? And she goes, I just feel so sorry for him for, you know, what he has to go through and stuff like that. And I thought, and I said, but he's only a character. And she goes, but you've done such a good job in portraying that character, I just feel sorry for him. So
a fictional character on your show, or basically an aspect of your mind, I guess, that's turning into their own being.
Exactly. Like I look on Facebook sometimes, and I get a rant going. You know, Baza gets on, I get on, and people are thinking, "That Simon's crazy. He's talking to himself." That's what I like to do. I like to have a theme going and get that theme happening, and you know, people respond to it. And like, you know, one day Spasto hacked into my bloody Facebook page and, you know, fucked it all up. And so yeah, I like to use characters.
Well, you know, what would be interesting is you do characters, and Darby. Be interesting if you guys got together along with your characters. And
Neb and Baza.
Yeah, hear you all talking to each other at the same time.
Hey, that would be a hoot, that one. Yeah, because I did an interview with Adam Kay about a month ago.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
that was a blast. So, and I don't like to repeat a lot of stuff. Like I said on another show, I like to keep it original, but you know, sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, his audience might have some crossover, but you're talking in a way that a new audience is going to hear you. So
yeah. So, but yeah, I love to use characters, and as I said, I don't write anything down. Last year I did a Back to the Birthday edition, and because it was my birthday, and last year was the anniversary of the DeLorean hitting the future from Back to the Future 2.
That's right. Yep.
So I did an episode of that, and I took all the soundtracks out of the movie and made my own little Back to the Future.
It was probably also politically correct, right?
Oh yeah. Got to stay on that part, otherwise I won't have many listeners.
No, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I would just tell you my birthday passed myself here. On my birthday is the anniversary of Christopher Hitchens dying.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, same day. And it's funny because so now I know. The day I first heard Christopher Hitchens' name for the first time in my life was when I was 35, when he died.
Oh.
It's the day I turned 35. It was the first time I heard his name.
Well, a while ago, mate. 5 years ago.
It's bittersweet.
How time flies. But yeah, I really enjoy doing podcasting. I've actually slowed down a bit now because, you know, I've had Spreaker's fucked us over.
Oh, what did it do?
They reduced our storage capacity to 5 hours and reduced our recording time down to 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy bad.
I got on there and saying, listen, how can you record a show for a 10-minute show? That's just ridiculous.
Jeez.
And they got back to me and they said, oh, sorry, you know, we've apologised, we've had to make this move, and, you know, I understand your concern. And I said, yeah, it's all about money, isn't it? Because they've been going all right. They've been going all right ever since they started, so and I didn't mind paying the what was it, $19 a month to have like 500 gigabytes storage in that, or 500 hours.
Yeah.
Like that was perfect. But now that they've done this, it's really bitten into my budget.
Well, maybe we should take some time, and I'll tell you how, for a fraction of the cost, you can set up your own website and do your own feed, get on iTunes. And
yeah.
Now, my shows, I don't have to worry about time length. I do, but I mean, I can, if I want, I can make a half-hour episode, which I don't think I think we've only ever done like 45 minutes. I think was the shortest. Yeah. But it's just preference, right? If I want to make a 2.5-hour episode, I can either throw it all up in one, or I can split it into 2 parts, which people seem to really like. Yeah.
I find it now just that sweet spot.
Yes. But like I say, it's just a preference. I realize that if I go past an hour, I'm going to probably start losing some listeners at that point, right? Yeah. But there are other people like me who, when I was in the truck, like a lot of people just listen to it when they're in their vehicle. So they want a like hour and a half or even 2 hours.
Yeah. See, I listen to it while I'm riding to work and riding back. And, even when I go to bed, I'll work on a podcast.
Makes me mad when my phone goes back to 0 after I paused it and had to do something else.
yeah, that's the only problem. So, yeah. But I very rarely listen to radio stations anymore.
Yeah, me too.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. My top podcasts are Robert Darby, you, Adam Kay, Cognitive Dissonance.
Yeah, they're great.
But,
yeah,
even sometimes I get tired of some of their stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, they make me laugh. But there's sometimes where you hear one of their, because they're up to nearly 400 shows now, or 300.
Yeah, they've been going a while.
Yeah. So there's some episodes where I think, I've sort of
heard it before.
There's a similar flavour to another episode that I heard before. But don't get me wrong, I don't know how they do it, but they do a great job every episode.
Where I find that I bump as the people who come to my show, I think, and that like it the most, aren't people who agree with my political views and everything like that. Mm. I think the niche that I've carved out is saying, you know what, I am not a conservative and I'm not a liberal. So you guys want to come over and listen to me sometimes talk about how religious nuts do crazy religious nutty things or whatever. That's fine. But understand, when it comes time to come back to the left and talk about the ideologies over there, like crazy feminists running around and destroying conferences and stuff, well, you better be prepared, because that's just what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the reason why I love listening to your show, is because it's not that you're speaking to the general people, you're speaking of how you feel, but you're not pushing it on anybody else. And that's the thing I love about your show, is that you're not pushing your agenda, you're only voicing your views.
That's right. So I try, and also the idea I have for the show is that I think if you invite someone on your show, there's a difference between having them on and maybe asking them some challenging questions, or even having a debate, and having them on and then having a yelling contest, or basically trying to undermine them.
Yeah.
We haven't really had many guests on the show that we bumped up against, but eventually we will. Like, eventually I think there's a guy I know, we've had him on, Dean Esme. If we have time, I may have him on to talk about his Catholicism, and he's a really hardcore Catholic now. And I
used to be a Catholic.
Oh yeah, well, that was your background.
Yeah, that was my religion, Catholic. See, with me, when I was with my mother, I wasn't taught anything about God. My mum didn't say anything. But when Christmas came around, we're going, who's this Jesus? Because I was going to school, and she goes, oh, that's just don't worry about that. Christmas is about people getting together and having a good time and, sharing what happened in the year and stuff like that. So my mum was never a believer. But when I was taken off my mum, my auntie, she was a Catholic, and she always went to church, and on a Sunday, she was a good little lady. And I've always found that it's always the religious ones that are always the violent ones.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Well, until the rise of the social justice warriors, anyway.
Yeah. So when we moved into my auntie's place, we were sent to Sunday school. And first class, I remember sitting there, and the teachers talking to me about God, and how wonderful He is, and I'm His special children, and He's made a paradise in heaven for us. And I thought, wow. And because they had like different groups. You got your first timers, and you got your they're indoctrinated now. They think there's this wonderful God. So now that we're going to tell them about Jesus and hell and shit like that, because we've now got them.
Yep.
So, and I remember, thinking, yeah, this sounds good, a lot better than here. I've been taken off my mum. I like to go to heaven. So, and then I've gone into the next class, and they're going, okay, if you're going to be good, if you're going to be bad, you're going to hell. And I said, I remember saying, what's hell? And she goes, that's all fire and brimstone. You're going to burn for eternity. I froze because my mind's going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This father who loves me is going to burn me if I'm not good.
Today, I'll be talking about 10 weirdest fundamentalist Christians' conspiracy theories. For the Christian right, having a faith-based worldview extends far beyond claims about demons and angels. Unsurprisingly, the world of fundamentalist Christians is absolutely crawling with conspiracy theories, urban legends, and just the plain bizarre beliefs about how the world works. Here's a list of 10 of the weirdest ones that are currently in circulation. Number 1. Same-sex marriage is an elaborate scheme concocted by lesbians to entrap men.
Because I was never a bad kid. I very rarely got into trouble, because I was a quiet one. I always kept to myself. I always wanted to be alone and stuff like that, because I didn't like what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And plus having that big move taken off my mum, and that was a traumatic move for me. So there was a lot of trust issues with me when I was young. And I kept to myself, and this is who I turned into today.
Yeah, there's my brother. He's got a little boy, nephew. He's, I think, 4, if I remember correct. No, 5. He's 5 because he's in kindergarten. He's got to be 5 by now. I lose track of all children's ages except my own. But I'm quite sure he's 5 because he's in kindergarten.
It gets worse as they get older.
He's a little sweetheart, this guy. And my brother just posted today on Facebook that he has become obsessed with watching the same episode of Thomas the Train over and over again.
Yeah.
It's an episode where Henry the Train doesn't want to come out of the tunnel because it's raining to do his work. So, as a punishment, the man in the top hat has him bricked into the tunnel for all time, for all eternity.
Really? Is there an episode like that?
Yes, my brother even put the link to it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Maybe I'll share that with you when I go back on Facebook later.
They didn't even take the Jews out of the carriage either.
I was just like, wow. Because I always thought, this is before I got into video editing, which I wish I had more time for. But one of the things I always thought would be funny is to edit Thomas the Train in with images from Under Siege 2, where they're fighting on the train and killing everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, fucking hell.
Someone gets blown out the side of the train, then cut to an image of Thomas like with an oh no face, like, oh.
Oh no. Look what's happening behind me.
Instead of
that's classic.
Instead of Thomas the Train, I call it Trauma the Train.
with pills in his hand.
Yeah.
That's another thing that annoys the crap out of me too, is how we're putting all these kids on medication.
That's kind of why I asked about the elderly. Is the most vulnerable people now are really being given a lot of medication to basically make them more pliable or more obedient or easy to deal with.
Can I say one thing? You know what it really turns them into? Zombies.
Yeah. Yep.
And you keep hearing about this zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
And look what I see at work, and with the way I see society going, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah. They
have these psycho people running around everywhere. Well, because the pharmaceuticals think they're all crazy anyway. Well, they haven't seen nothing yet.
I think there's a place for medicine, obviously, but this is kind of just lazy. Anything that inconveniences you, medicate it. And children,
exactly.
Yeah, and children can't speak out for themselves. The elderly, once they get to a certain age, have a hard time speaking out for themselves. And there's other people as well, but those are the 2 largest groups that get targeted. Yeah. And there is big money in it.
Well, don't quote me on this when I say this, but I heard, my sister told me that the bloke who diagnosed ADHD,
okay,
on his deathbed, he actually said it was all a scam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, don't quote me on that. That could be like one of those what we call fake news these days.
Or as the rational people say, it might be unreliable information.
Yeah, probably more politically way of putting it.
Can I quickly just jump to this? In Australia, okay, now if I remember correctly, when somebody says that they're liberal over there, that means something different than over here, right?
So, me personally, I have nothing to do with government. I don't really follow it.
Right. Okay.
So, if there's any Australian listeners that listen to you, I don't vote because the last 2 votes I had done, the person who I voted in was kicked out, and somebody else, like Malcolm Turnbull, we voted Tony Abbott in. Well, he got ousted, and now we've got Malcolm Turnbull.
So you feel like what's the point of voting for one guy when they're just going to get replaced without a vote within the party?
Yeah, because my belief is, well, I did vote this year because I voted One Nation, and I'm not sure if you know too much about our politics, but we've got a lady called Pauline Hanson.
She's the one that gets criticized by the politically
yeah. She's
lefties.
The racist one.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm so sick and tired of Australians being called racist. We're not being racist. We're just voicing our concerns.
Yep.
She wants to stop Muslim immigration, which I do agree with, because we don't know who we're letting in this door. And we've had a few terror attacks here in Australia at the moment. But luckily, because we spend a lot of money in our terrorism force, I think we spend like $600 million in our... because we got and it's the only group, we've got a Middle Eastern crimes gang unit, police force.
Yeah.
So no other religion has got that. Only.
Are you saying there's no Baptist police force, no Catholic police force?
just Middle Eastern police force.
But Simon, they're all the same. There's no greater risk at all.
Exactly. That's why I'm glad we spend bloody $600 million. And we've foiled so many attacks because we do put money into that. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I don't mind putting my money into that than, say, putting money into, breast cancer. Because if they don't have the cure for breast cancer by now, there's something wrong. That's just me personally,
Well, they don't.
Actually, we've got a cure for cancer now, and it's a berry that grows in Queensland, and it's only native to Australia, and it's got these enzymes and vitamins that actually, when you inject it into the actual cancer, it kills it.
Oh, nice. Well, and hopefully this is going to lead to, because I know cancer has a great deal of variety and variance. So hopefully this leads to our understanding of how to stamp it out.
Well, Australia has one of the highest cancer rates in the world.
Well, do you guys all smoke or something?
No, I've got a theory, and it's only a theory. The reason why we Australians have such high cancer rates is because of where we're living. Now, a lot of people don't think of this, is where we're living under one massive uranium rock.
Oh, you guys have a high content there?
This is Australia. Australia is one massive uranium rock.
That's not a very good sales pitch. You probably shouldn't use it as your
it's
your tourism slogan. Come to Australia. We're a big uranium rock.
So that's why, and uranium gives you cancer.
Well, yeah, exposure to it. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's and don't take take it as gospel. That's just my theory.
It's your theory on it. Yeah. Fair enough. I don't know much about the geography, certainly not the mineral content of Australia, but if that's true, they probably wouldn't want to brag about it to the population, or you might have a, emigration issue.
Hey, but that's one good way of getting rid of the bloody... Yeah, we're one massive uranium rock. You want cancer? Come over.
I think...
You'll be right.
I think that the future with medical science is going to be them understanding a lot more about how the DNA in our bodies work.
Mm.
I think essentially that's going to be the next kind of stage of medicine. And again, I'm no doctor, but that's what it really seems like.
Like even with they got this now cure for Alzheimer's. I only caught a real glimpse of the article, and apparently they get injected with something, and it's actually reversing the effects. So instead of slowing it down, it's actually rebuilding things and that in the brain.
Can they do that, something like that with politicians, like reverse the damage that's happened since they became a politician?
That damage is already done.
That's irreversible there.
They've got the disease, mate. Well, we can still help the society of the Australian people, or even the Canadian people.
We should do what they used to do with old diseases, is we should take the politicians that have it and, what do you call it? Put them into containment.
Yeah. Put them under quarantine, mate.
That's right, that's right.
Put them in a big box and say, please don't open.
I am always happy to hear when we're having breakthroughs. It tends to be like suddenly after many failed or dead ends, suddenly we'll have one step forward, and then it'll sit there for a while as we learn basically how to capitalize on that one step. But it's amazing collectively what we've learned over time.
Yeah. See, like, I had somebody tell me that I was a bit of a hypocrite about pharmaceuticals. And me personally, I think that pharmaceuticals are dangerous.
Okay.
Because
they are. That's why they come with warning labels. Can't be denied that you're right on that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, my belief is we're not designed to take chemicals. We're not designed to ingest chemicals. That's why we get side effects, is because, our body doesn't know it helps, but it doesn't fix the problem. But we're getting scientists finding these new cures that actually fix the problem. And that's why pharmaceuticals are only to manage the problem, not fix it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some exceptions, but you're generally right. The painkillers and where I see a big problem is that, like I say, medicine. The reason that we have it in the first place is because at some point people realized it was good for something. However, it's not. Most doctors will tell you what they know you need to do, and what they tell most patients at some point, and they don't listen. We don't listen to them. Is get some exercise on a regular basis. And, eat with some moderation. Make sure you get a variety of vegetables.
That's another thing too. Like, I ride 14 kilometres a day. I ride to work and home again. And that's a 14 kilometre round trip. I don't eat every day. I only eat 2 meals a day. Like, I'll get up to go to work. I'll have a chicken mayo sandwich. And for dinner, I'll have like a soup. And that's all I'll have all day. And when I was going through my operations, and they're saying I'm all my blood counts is really healthy, and even the doctor said where I got my graft taken off my leg, because they had to because your face doesn't have any main arteries in it. It's just like wires of veins, so they couldn't actually attach a vein to the graft.
Okay.
So what they had to do is take the main vein that feeds your main muscle on your thigh. They had to get rid of that, use that, and get rid of the muscle, and put the vein in the back of my neck through the pulse. And they fed it up behind my ear and up through my jawline and into the actual skin graft. And they took the pulse out of my knee and placed the pulse in the skin graft, and now it's got the same blood supply.
Oh wow!
Like that's what I say. Like people say, if I put myself on Facebook and says, "Oh, please say amen," like, it drives me crazy when I hear people, you see those posts. I'm getting on there going, God gave them cancer in the first place. It's your God that did it, you dickheads.
Yeah.
Oh, they get me infuriated when I see them on Facebook. It's your God that bloody put them in there in the first place.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, thanks God for all of this stuff here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, hold on a second. Isn't this the same God that could have, winked his nose and none of this bad stuff would have happened in the first place?
Like, don't get me wrong. I love religion. I love it due to the fact that it dominates our life so much.
Yeah.
On something that was written 2,000 years ago, if not longer.
Yeah.
Well, religion's been going since Dot. It hasn't been going since Adam and Eve and Genesis. We've been here way before then. And, the 99.9% of people believe in this bloody thing that happened 2 years ago that was written only for their time. Like, for an example, water. Water to them was gold.
Oh yeah,
because they lived in an Arab land. So if the rains came, God's praising us. He's bringing us water. So yeah, obviously that would be a blessing.
And they're very preoccupied about sperm and
yeah. That's why I watched Monty Python the other day, The Meaning of Life. Oh, mate, I'm in stitches. You know the song they sing, Every Sperm is Sacred?
Yeah.
I piss myself, because I'm sitting there going, yeah, if every sperm is wasted and God gets irate, what happens if we don't jerk off? We end up having wet dreams.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we're going to be wasting sperm anyway. So we might as well have a jerk off and bloody have a good time bloody releasing it than just have a sweet dream and wake up at the most important bit and lose it.
You want to hear one of my theories?
What's that?
Again, don't take this as fact, but it's just a theory. So my theory is that as we go through different periods of sort of evolving socially as human beings, we take the new developments as something amazing. It captures our attention and we see it as kind of divine or just extraordinary. And it holds power to our minds. And so, so a long time ago, I think we learned fire, right? How to make and maintain fire. Yeah. And my theory is that this is the birth of the priest class, because someone probably sat there to tend the fire and learned all the secrets about how to make and maintain fires. And so they became very important to the group. And fire was so mystical. I think this was the beginning of having like a priestly class, Yeah. The more recent one that we just went through was words, written words.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem magical to us now, but at the time, you got to remember, it had for as long as people could remember, they'd come in to see whoever the guy in charge was, the king or the local thug who was in charge, and they'd say, "Oh, listen, I know that I owe you some stuff, and this is how much I owe you." And they'd say, "No, you owe me this much." And they'd say, No, I only owe you this much. And they'd probably settle on something. But now they came in, and there was this dude there, probably wearing robes or whatever, and he had this weird stuff, like clay tablets or whatever. And they're like, "Actually, we've recorded exactly what you owe. You owe 57 bushels of this, and you owe this of this." And it was like magic. Like, oh my God. Like that wall or that thing he's holding knows.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But going back to like even the first man creating fire.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie called Quest for Fire?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Like that, like you got to look at in that movie, like fire was important to them.
Oh yeah.
And because they knew how to make fire, and you had your other tribes or other species trying to take that because they didn't know how to create fire, so they became an important part of everyone.
Yep.
Because they knew how to make it, so and they needed it. So when you really look at the whole scheme of things, that these people that knew how to make fire was an important part of evolution.
Oh yeah, and these things we take so much for granted now. Just like something that happens now that we find, amazing or stunning, that will revolutionize our way of life. Mm. In a few hundred years, our descendants will think it's no big deal.
Yeah, and we if we went back in say 1,000 years from now, we'd be going, "Holy shit!
Yeah, that's right.
This is bloody awesome. We had nothing like this when we were around." So yeah, like you got to admit, like within 120 years, we have come a long way.
Yeah, we have.
So, we've only been flying for 124 years or 130 years, but look what we can achieve look what we've achieved in that time. And here's a true fact. It wasn't the Wright brothers that were the first people to fly.
Oh.
Now, what I'll do is I'll have to find a link. It was an Australian.
Oh, but he didn't get the attention?
But because we were so far away, it wasn't recognised because it didn't get out to the broader world. So
maybe it was a time zone thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, we were a day ahead.
That's right.
Is there any key to the solution of this monstrous scheme? Will Batman really be skeletonized and Robin waxed and then notched? Keep keen-edged, keen-witted, and keep watching. Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.